The Excellences and Prerogatives of Our Lady. 14th Title and Contemplation. Now then, my dear love, it befits us at present to see the most marvelous thing you have made on earth and in heaven, among and above all creatures. It is your very dear and sacred mother, mother of you, God and man, full of all the grace that creatures have by measure. Angels and men differ greatly in possessing it. Angels more than men. Some men, your friends, more than angels and in a higher degree. And your blessed mother has grace to the full from her sea, which flows from you, her head, Lord and Savior, as from its own source, as you have it in its sovereign fullness as grace of union and headship, that which is totally all that God could ever bestow of himself. The reason for this is as infinite as the subject, which is you yourself. In this way, from your fullness we have all received grace, according to the measure and capacity of our loving vases, in conformity with our disposition. But your sacred mother has all in effect and truth, or to say it better, to the luster and splendor of your infinite grace in her, which makes her very accomplished and very illustrious, and now at your right hand reigning as your mother, queen, and lady of all the universe, in all your infinite eternity. In this way, in the amplitude of her treasures, she is full of all splendor and beauty, as much in her sacred soul as in her sacred body, so that she is, in this very thing, astonishment and prodigy to the angels and to all the saints in glory and on earth, following what the Holy Spirit expresses in conformity with this. In this way, we need not reveal any of the details, nor something divided up into parts, but only that she is all things in all creatures. She is all that is beautiful, all goodness and all the good, to the point of spilling over with all this above all those other creatures. Thus she is all and has all as a pure creature, sovereignly ennobled and adorned with all the flow of your sea, which is the totality of grace poured into the totality of herself for her to reign eternally in all fullness of luster and of accomplishment over all creatures as their lady and their queen, so that, exceeding by far and to such a superior degree all that is created, capable of loving you by consummated grace, she is very capable, above all creatures, and as creature and lady in whom grace can do no more, given that her vase, incomparably greater than all the others together, contains them all. And just as you could not pour more into her, she could not contain any more, since she is all that you could give and overflow with. If in this is all being, then this is all saying. If this is all saying and seeing, it is because of this and in this that it is all being. O marvelous and 1,000 times marvelous creature of the earth, created, adorned, and foreordained to reach the path's end in sovereign accomplishment, to reign as queen, bride, and mother of God, infinite, above all creatures, even above those who are more excellent creatures than she, namely the angels and celestial spirits, which are, in the realm of grace, in diverse hierarchies and degrees. This, I say, is the effect of your marvels and prodigies, which enrapture us in infinite eternal admiration. In this way, it is in her and by her that you have been eternally pleased more than in all the rest of creatures, having made her your mother to this effect, her whom all creatures honor both in heaven and on earth, adoring her rightly, in all humility and reverence, and serving her more lovingly and with greater pleasure than one could imagine. In regard to men who see her being the cause of their reparation with you and by you, O my love and my life, they cannot be astonished enough, nor spend themselves completely enough, before you and before her. In view of this infinite prodigy that you have done unto men, in her and by her, having as she does the better part in our redemption, and even having more, truth be told, than all men together, in every sense and manner, according to the order of all reason and harmony. Now nothing here below represents to us better your infinite person in all its majesty, nor even your infinite majesty in itself, in your divinity and humanity, within and without, in the totality of its life, its conduct, its gestures and words. Then she does, she who, by everything about her, is such a vivid representation of yourself, your other self, so to speak. In this way, penetrating all this in her, we penetrate you yourself, your goodness and love through hers, and her goodness and love through your goodness and your love. I mean to say that which is inherently yours, remaining incommunicable above all its flowing out, so to speak. In this way, above all very pure, very simple, very unique and very fruitful speculation, we must essentially, in her essential and effusive beauty, contemplate her as yourself. For, without a doubt, in that which is manifest and visible, she is above penetration and comprehension, but far more so and in a different way in that which remains in herself, neither seen nor known by men in this life, but revered, admired, contemplated, and adored in the very sweet calm of a secret and profound silence, which holds us enraptured and suspended by her and in her, as in the most profuse of your profusions, and as in the total treasury of all the amplitude of your infinite treasures, being the lady and mistress of these treasures, as your very worthy mother, and as queen of all creatures, she distributes them to men, and you also, at her continual insistence, will distribute what is yours, in conformity with their indigence and necessity, yet more still, by pure grace and love, to ennoble and adorn them diversely in their per nature, with all the perfections, ornaments, gifts, and riches that grace requires to sanctify and super-excellently adorn nature in this life, and after this life to glorify it with all of yourself, in a very high and very sublime state of unspeakable glory. Now, my love and my life, we shall not develop this, nor the particularities of her excellence, any more concretely, but we shall remain enraptured by her essential beauty, which we see shining forth in its outwardly communicated effects, beyond that which remains always within her own essence, which does not go out at all, which is the perfection that she has in her sovereign fullness, with which she loved you in this life, my dear love, and whereby she enjoys you more excellently, she alone, than all men together, given that in your glory, she has a very separate choir distinct from all creatures. But what is the use of presenting all this so explicitly, though it may be but basely and from afar? Ah, my dear life, it is with the intention of excellently exalting and magnifying you in her, in me and through me, as I lovingly offer you a very pleasing explanation, knowing very well that you delight infinitely in seeing and hearing your servants and very humble servants overcome with delight at your prodigies in your very worthy and very dear mother, which, by this and over this, are entirely displayed to present to you her excellences, her prerogatives, her advantages, her glory, and her supreme magnificence as sovereign lady of all creatures, in heaven as well as on earth and in the underworld, at whose name every creature trembles. And good devout souls bend their knees and bow reverently, having nothing sweeter after you, your name, your praises, your eternal effects, than her name, her prerogatives and her praises, her titles of honor, her exaltation, her joy and exaltation, and her infinite glory in all your immensity and eternity. What can one say and conceive of a being so perfect and so accomplished in grace and in nature, above every being of grace and of nature, among pure creatures, and who even enjoys this excellence in very high supereminence, already corporally, forever? Without a doubt, my love and my life, we ought rather to delight in her infinitely in order to admire you in your having gone forth in your totality among creatures, so to speak. Yes, she would be the one who should eternally enrapture us, that we might conceive, discern, and speak of her rather than of any other creature in particular, I mean more than all of them together. From such a high point of view, so equitable in a certain sense, one can easily see how profusely similar she is to you, in yourself and like yourself, above all creatures. Considering that it seems to be one and the same thing to think of her and to speak about her as to think of and speak about you yourself. Ah, how the pleasure, praise, and glory you have in her are unspeakable. What creature will give terms and bounds to these by their concepts, given that there is no difference between you and her, except that she is formed as a creature, but a very excellent and super excellent creature, and that her boundaries, limits of all excellence, glory, and magnificence worthy of her beauty, praise, and perfection, must not be yours, but wholly other and lesser. I would give a demonstration of this by a plausible similitude, but it is far-fetched and out of proportion, yet it could seem to be proportionate according to the terms of the similitude that I could give. Well then, where so much excellence has accumulated all together, we would do much better to compare it to a great bay, an inlet of the sea, which captures and draws into its undertow all of itself, and which returns to the sea whence it flowed, as to the place of its own repose and of its unique center. For this current which carries us along with its impetuous and rapid course, and which will not let us out of there, I mean out of the depths of its essence, in which we see the essential habits of all her perfections, shown forth in the fruitful production of their continual acts, through all the course of her life until death, as well as in the state of very eminent glory, where she reigns eternally in all your eternity. O my love and my life, behold what we think, behold what we conceive, behold what we sense ineffably within the reasons and above the reasons of all the flow of your flowing and fluid love, as God and as man. This is how we see this super excellent one, and, as I understand it, her divine majesty, the one whom we see incomparably surpassing all things, in infinite admiration and astonishment. Any explanation about who or what she is does not fall within the perception of the senses nor of the intelligence that it might be sufficiently conceived or explained by some sort of rational process, because of her profound, perfect, and entire identification with you, in you totally, as the very noble first idea among all your very excellent ideas. You have always had her just as present in your mind, such as she is in her own existence, which she has from you, and in you totally, and all that. You are, as you still have her now. Now, to perfect and accomplish such an admirable work and design in her, you have brought into play all the means ordained by your eternal foreknowledge to such an end, but so admirably, that never for a single moment has she existed without loving you very ardently, contemplating you, praising you, and magnifying you. In this way, for your part, my love and my life, you have always brought forth the means of grace and for grace in their full and entire effect, in accordance with your eternal order, eternally prescribed for this, to which she responded, to the point that she never slackened nor let go of infinity, which is really all that can be said here. Well, anyway, whoever has good vision will be able to understand me. Alas, my love and my life! We other poor creatures, far from such grace and excellence, but from such love also, from such grace and integrity as were hers in this life. Now the reasons for this are infinite in the essence of this love of ours, which does not require the same gifts and favors for such a luster as does the lady and bride and mother of the King, I mean of the true Son of God, the God-man that you are, for her redemption and that of your fellow men, your very dear elect. In this way, your mother, our lady, our queen, and our mother, O my love and my life, has always loved you just the same. The reason for this is infinite, since that grace which has fully adorned her from her sacred conception did this, and was obliged to do this in her, as far as I can tell. This is why she is your bride, your only one, your all-beautiful one, who is without blemish, even taking into account her past and speaking of her divinized life as a wayfarer, without any blemish however small in her. The very Holy Spirit is full of similar expressions and manifestations of this, but this is not our concern here, since it is all of that, and incomparably over and above it all, that we believe about her. And from our perspective, my love and my life, we are more delighted with her, in herself, than with all the rest of the universe, than with everything except you. She it is whom we want and desire infinitely, and in whom we cherish infinitely all the goodness, pleasure, and honor that she has in you totally and totally from you. And if it were possible to give her anything, which is naturally impossible, we would give it to her wholeheartedly and in the ardor of our love, with such love and for love of you and for love of her who is identical to you in goodness, in glory, in joy, in all, within you totally, in such a way that she should be a pure creature here on earth, sovereignly consummated in your grace and love, and after this life, consummated altogether differently in the start of your infinite glory, which has become her own in yours and from yours, seeing all things in you, more excellently and perfectly in God your Father, and all the sacred Trinity than all the rest of creatures together. So, my love and my life, this sovereign prodigy of love, which your love has revealed that it might be incessantly admired, seen, and contemplated as the supreme manifestation of you love both in our creation and our recreation, is worthy of being excellently loved by all creatures. Also, you are loved for the singular benefit received from your infinite bounty, in the possession of which some souls enjoy her beginning here and now, and forever, as their sovereign lady, their sovereign queen, their sovereign all, after you. And we other poor mortals here below await that happiness which, after you, will crown our happiness and our accidental felicity in enjoying her, in the full vision of God, of you and of her, as of all the blessed. She will fulfill, I say, the joy of one and all, in all her glory and felicity, accidentally, in such a way that we will enjoy her glory as if it were our own. And yet, what we are doing and must do at present is to be excellently faithful to you as best we can. Regarding this holy lady, your mother, our queen, she has always been equally mystical, more than ever were or ever will be any one of the saints, as she gazes upon and enjoys your goods in your totality, as a very consummated wayfarer. Over all who were ever on the way after you, fixed and immobile in your sight in an incomparable manner above all others, so that her mysticism, her breadth and depth, and her infinite manifestations and intuitions were purely hers and far distant from all other mysticism that ever has been or could be, so that so much was she cast away in your totality, that to her all things were not but you, so perfectly that it is too little to say, and to conceive of saying that nothing was anything to her except you alone, but so profoundly lost and simple in all, that you are, in the infinite abyss of your infinite superessence, she practiced from within this abyss all that it was appropriate for her to do exteriorly, with a wisdom so divine that nothing in the world was ever lacking in her nor could it be lacking. In this respect, next to her, the highest and most penetrating saints among your friends are, in their flight, and perhaps even in their eminence, in a manner of speaking, only earthly birds in their flight. Her adornment having been accomplished, yes, sovereignly accomplished in the measure of and in proportion to her constitution, she, from her very immobile and stable stillness, has full knowledge infused in conformity with her capacity, to the extent to which it was required for the comprehension of what she had to understand.